Repeat after me. You are not the center of the universe. The medical team was working feverishly to save my son's life. Periodically, someone came out to give me updates. Once, a doctor on the team emerged, beaming a smile. "Good news," he exclaimed. "Your son has a brain." "What? Your son has a brain?" he repeated. "With all due respect," I asked, "what are you talking about?" He went on to explain that children who are born this ill were sometimes found to have no brain, just a brainstem. "But," he added proudly, almost smugly, "we just did a CT scan, and your son has a complete brain." I was dumbfounded. "Great," I finally managed to sputter. "He's one step ahead of his old man." With a chuckle, I added, "Would you please go back in there and find out what's wrong with my son?" It was good to find that I hadn't lost my sense of humor. Why is it that when you give a small child a guilt, he often drives you nuts by wanting to play with the box, rather than the very expensive toy it contained? A toy that you probably waited forever in line to buy. It's because the child doesn't see the box as merely a container and then trash, like you do. He sees it as an extension of the gift itself. He does not yet share your belief, so it hasn't shaped his worldview. Therefore, the box can become anything to the child. To him, it can be a chair, a helmet, a house, or a handy projectile. The message in this chapter is that without preconceived beliefs about the way things are, there are no limits to what you can accomplish and to the positive changes you can impart. As adults, most of us go through life carefully focused on our own little worlds. We tend to think that what we see is reality, and to forget that there is a much bigger world out there that, if we considered it, would put our situation into perspective. When we forget this, we tend to take our own perspective a little too seriously, and in the process, we take ourselves too seriously as well. In effect, we become the center of our own universe. What results is an inability to deal with change. When it comes along and disrupts our worldview, we may come to think, feel, and act as if the world has come to an end. We lose perspective, and with this mindset, the negative effects of change become exaggerated in our minds, and in our experience, sometimes leaving us, feeling overwhelmed and unable to cope as effectively as we might have done otherwise. Similarly, we feel unable to make change happen. We get the false sense that we have to accept that that's the way things are, and we become blind to our own ability to affect positive change. One of the best ways to counter this trend is to discover, nourish, and enjoy our sense of humor. Humor with a touch of self-deprecation is the antidote to taking yourself too seriously. And taken together, humor and humility provide protection against the stress and pressure of change. Armed with a sense of humor and a healthy perspective, you are in a much better position to lead yourself and others through difficult change. Which would you rather follow? Someone who radiates a sense of confidence and composure, or someone who always fears the worst and is quick to cry, "The sky is falling"? In fact, a review of American history reveals that many of the presidents who led the nation through dramatic and sweeping change had a well-honed sense of humor. Abraham Lincoln, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, John F. Kennedy, and Ronald Reagan were all known for putting others at ease through well-timed and good-natured jokes, quips, and stories. In this way, they released the pressure and tension of constant and often unpredictable change for themselves and their followers. The strategy of blending humor with humility makes good business sense too. A company culture that fosters these characteristics creates a carryover effect for its customers. That's just good business. A prime example comes from an organization I recently ran across called CD Baby. I had gone to the company's website to purchase a couple of CDs. Below is a transcript of the email I received from the company, confirming that my order had been shipped. I read it with growing surprise and delight. "Your CDs have been gently taken from our CD Baby shelves with sterilized contamination-free gloves and placed on a satin pillow. A team of 50 employees inspected your CDs and polished them to make sure they were in the best possible condition before mailing. Our packaging specialist from Japan lit a candle, and a hush fell over the crowd as he put your CDs into the finest gold-lined box that money can buy. We all had a wonderful celebration afterwards, and the whole party marched down the street to the post office, where the entire town of Portland waved Bon Voyage to your package on its way to you in our private CD Baby jet. I hope you had a wonderful time shopping at CD Baby. We sure did. Your picture is on our wall as Customer of the Year. We're all exhausted, but can't wait for you to come back to CD Baby. Calm." I have no doubt that the staff members of CD Baby would be able to roll with almost any situation, regardless of the changes that might come their way. Not taking themselves too seriously keeps the company nimble enough to quickly adjust to new and unexpected circumstances, rather than laboring under the weight of a more serious and ponderous business culture. To see what I mean, go to the company's website. The staff members clearly don't take themselves too seriously, and they have lightened your burdens by providing a relaxed place to do business. Visit the company's website and you'll immediately feel the stress of your day begin to melt under the onslaught of the staff members' relentless good humor. Stress relief through good humor is an added benefit of doing business with CD Baby. And who knows, you just might buy a CD while you're there. In summary, if you escape from the limitations imposed by your own static and insular thinking, you are better equipped to find the ring in any change. And you don't need to be a professional comedian to adopt this attitude. and infuse it within your organization. You do need to take a step or two outside of your comfort zone and develop a realistic and less serious sense of yourself. Take Randall, for example. I met him in a leadership program I had conducted some time ago. Randall was one of the most serious and buttoned-up CEOs you'd ever want to meet, and I mean literally buttoned up. Every day he wore a coat and tie to the program, which was more of a khakis and polo shirt type of event. Frankly, I wasn't sure how much Randall had benefited from the program. His stony expression and taciturn demeanor didn't change much over the course of the week-long program. He emoted very little and said even less. Even as a trained psychologist, I found him to be a tough man to read. It wasn't until one of his vice presidents attended the program a few months later that I realized that Randall had taken some of the things we had covered to heart after all. "What did you guys do to Randall?" the vice president asked me as soon as he arrived at the program. "Did you brainwash him or something?" "Uh-oh, why?" "No, I mean he came back different, but in a good kind of way." "Tell me." When Randall got back, we had our monthly management meeting. Only, this time Randall had stripped the boardroom of all the furniture. Tables, chairs, even the clock on the wall, everything. When we walked in for the 3-hour meeting, there was nothing but Randall, us, the floor, and the 4 walls. "What did you do?" We didn't know what to do. We were shocked. Then Randall sat down on the floor in full coat and tie. Normally, he is about as serious and formal as it gets. And now he's sitting on the floor in the middle of this empty boardroom. We couldn't believe what we were seeing. What happened? Well, before you know it, we were all on the floor, loosening our ties and getting comfortable as best we could. It turned out to be one of the best meetings we have had in a long, long time. People were more open, and the conversation seemed to flow more freely than usual. We got issues on the table and dealt with stuff we'd normally avoid. I think that by sitting on the floor, people were less intimidated by Randall than they usually are. Plus, we didn't have a table to hide behind. I put all of us on a more even plane. We were more relaxed, and that really seemed to get us going. Randall is a perfect example of someone who has developed a strong understanding of himself and recognizes the importance of not taking oneself too seriously in reaching out to a broad spectrum of people. Once you expand your periphery and develop loyal followers by becoming more approachable through humor and humility, your entire team will be better able to devise new and creative ways to dig for the ring. Adding a measure of humor and humility to your everyday outlook will help you keep the rubble in your life in his proper place, while you search for the ring and lead and inspire others to do the same. Some of you might be thinking, "But I'd be too uncomfortable to try anything like that." That's the point. Any may you try something new that expands the boundaries of your comfort zone, you're going to feel uncomfortable, and that's okay. In fact, it's better than okay. It's a sign that you are actually doing something different and trying out new behaviors. Often I tell my consulting clients who come to me for leadership coaching that if they truly want to change, they have to be willing to feel uncomfortable for a time. If you call me up and say that you are feeling uneasy as you implement the changes in your leadership that we discussed, I'll say, "Good, you're making progress." I'll tell them. Someone once said that the only one who likes change is a wet baby, and I think that person may have been right. Many of us don't like change, and we fight it every chance we get. But if you can learn that you are not the center of the universe, that your way is not the only way, and if you are willing to step outside your comfort zone from time to time to try new behaviors and approaches to solving old problems, your ability to lead yourself and others through change will grow exponentially.